Hey guys, the event Phototaxis and Study just dropped and we're gonna go over every single stage that has already opened up. So first of all, you gotta be aware that you can choose yourself something called a thought process. Those three right here, we're gonna go over them really briefly. First of all, let's talk about the guilt delusion thought process. Here, you can see that you can choose 3 out of 6 buffs, and the 3 buffs that you choose for this one are buff number 2, 4 and 6. So what it does is, after attacking an enemy, all allies gain ultimate +2 and this is stackable. For every 3 attacks on an enemy, a random ally gains a moxie, and for every attack your allies gain 2 stacks of ceremonies. So this is all based around stacking up ultimate might, generating moxie and dealing as much damage as possible by using your ultimates. Additionally, at the start of the round, you gain 5 stacks of ceremonies already. When actively casting an incantation, you grant yourselves 2 points of inspiration, 2 impromptu. So this is also the best in slot for impromptu teams because you generate inspiration. Next up, we have the thought process compulsive impulses. This one is for follow-up teams. You take the points, you take the buffs here 1, 2 and 5. What it does is, after performing an extra action, a random incantation in the spell dock gains +1 rank. After performing an action, you gain a precast incantations that allows you to cast an incantation of yours at rank 2. Then, when actively casting a rank 2 or 3 incantation on the enemy, there is a 30% chance to cast it again. And when you cast a rank 2 or 3 incantation, all other allies gain plus 10% damage for extra actions. So again, this is for follow-up teams, for teams that use Eureka and excel at using extra actions, right? Such as like 37, Lucy, you get the point. Then, last but not least, we have the thought process cognitive dissonance, and you take the buffs number 3, 4 and 6 here. So what it does is, at the start of the first round, for every 2 rounds, you lose 30% of your current HP and you get a stack of Moribund. Moribund makes you survive a lethal hit, so it's a revive. Then when attacking, for every 10% of missing HP, you deal an additional 50% mental damage, or reality damage for that matter, to the enemy. When HP is above 50%, right before attacking you lose 10% of your current HP, and you gain 10% for critical hit rate and critical damage respectively. When attacking, if it's a critical hit, you gain a shield, and those shields, they will stack up quite massive. Then, when attacking, if you're holding a shield, which you will always do, you gain an additional crit rate and critical damage increase by 20%. This is all about increasing your crit rate as much as possible, and this fits to pretty much every single team out there, and in my opinion this is overall the best possible thought process you could pick. But now let's go and talk about each and every stage. So here we go, this is battle number 1. Now the 3 first battles in this event, they are not really complicated. In this stage number 1 here, it is highly recommended to use Star Afflatus characters because you will see these moths here, like right in front of you. And you want to be very efficient against them. They are from the Mineral Afflatus, so you bring Star Afflatus characters to have the Afflatus advantage here. Additionally, another good tip is that you will be forced to use the thought process that gives you stacks of inspiration and that excels at your characters using extra actions. So bringing a follow-up team just like I did with Liang, Flutterpage, Fatutu and 37 is very, very efficient. Another very good team is of course the impromptu team. These 2 teams, they would completely obliterate this stage without any issue. Now the so-called quote-unquote gimmick in this battle is that these enemies, they inflict a bunch of poison to your team, but if you bring a character like Fatutu that can cleanse these stacks of poison. You see, they inflict stacks of poison onto me. Fatuto uses her follow-up attack and boom, I am free of all those poison stacks. Additionally, something that you can keep in mind for every single stage in this event is that you will be able to use 2 teams instead of 1, and you can rotate your characters in and out between these 2 teams. You can see here that my characters for my second team that are, you can see it on the right hand side of your screen. This is my second team. Now these characters, they also unlock their ultimates, they also generate Moxie. And I can now, for example, you see I have Lucy, I have Mrs. Bubble, I have Sotheby and the character 6. I can now choose one of these characters to switch in to my team, and I have to choose one of my characters to switch out to bring in that Lucy. And if I do so, then Lucy would immediately use her ultimate, right? Pretty much for free by the process of switching in and out. So you can create a constant cycle of switching your characters in and out to use as many ultimates as you possibly can, right? And that stacks up like stacks of Ceremonious, and yeah, it can be a massive advantage depending on what kind of 2 teams you bring and what kind of thought process you use. That, just as a side note, that's how that works, and you should definitely make use of that. And yeah, that's like literally everything about stage 1 already. Cleanse the poison, bring Star Afflatus characters, and that's gonna be about it, and you're gonna obliterate this battle. So battle number 2, that is pretty much the same story. You want to bring Star Afflatus characters because, as you can see, the boss in the end, he will be from the Mineral Afflatus as well as most of those ads. So bring Star Afflatus characters, and yeah, the enemies literally, they won't do anything to you if you just bring Star Afflatus characters. If you wouldn't bring Star Afflatus characters and you attack them with a weaker Afflatus, then you would get stacks of paralyze and you would be constantly stunned, and it will get annoying. So just bring Star Afflatus characters to avoid the stun and be very, very efficient against the Mineral Afflatus characters, and then this battle will be a walk in the park. And then we have battle number 3. Now this boss here in the end, he's from the Beast Afflatus, so you would be good to bring Mineral Afflatus characters, but the gimmick here is that whenever you wouldn't crit the boss, then you would lose Moxie and the boss would gain Moxie. So you want to make sure that you crit him as much as possible. So again, a follow-up team is also very, very efficient to bring here, because you increase your chance of critting the more you attack, and no team attacks more than a follow-up team would attack, right? So again, like for all of those first 3 stages, impromptu and follow-up teams are the most efficient ones. And remember, you want to crit this boss, otherwise you will lose Moxie, he will gain Moxie, that's not what you want. So see that you increase your critical hit chance as much as possible. I showed you earlier which thought process to use and which buffs to use, etc. So that's how you go about this battle. Either you use Mineral Afflatus characters or you go for full crit. Now we move inside of the Incantation Palace and we look at stage number 1. In there you will face 4 flames here. They, as you can see, they will make themselves immune to attacks, so you have to attack them once to get rid of their immunity, and then you can go nuts with your damage onto them. The gimmick of this battle is that you should refrain from attacking them too much, at least with reality damage, because as you can see, my Lucy deals reality damage, and whenever you attack them with reality damage, you will take damage in return. And that's already gonna be about it. You see they grant themselves immunity. Now you wanna hit them with preferably a mass attack first to get rid of their immunity, and then you're gonna hit them hard. If you do that with reality damage, you know that you will take damage in return. So if you could refrain from dealing reality damage and deal like mental damage, for example, instead, that would be very very efficient and the best way to go about it. Now, yeah, what afflatus they are mineral afflatus, so you can bring star afflatus characters, but that's not really the big deal. The big deal is don't deal reality damage if you somehow can. Of course, like if you have star afflatus characters, like my 37 for example, that deal mental damage, that doesn't, like a star afflatus character that doesn't deal reality damage, that's like the most efficient way to go about this battle. And yeah, that's already gonna be about that. We have battle number 2 in the Imagination Palace, and here you have a plant afflatus boss in the middle. You can attack them obviously with beast afflatus characters to be very efficient. You can also bring plant afflatus characters yourself to be very efficient against the ads. Now, they inflict again poison onto your team, so if you could bring something like Fatutu that cleanses the poison, that would be good. And the boss in the middle, the plant afflatus character. Now, he has damage taken reduction minus 50%. That's something you can't do anything against. But he also has critical defense minus 50%. So you wanna attack him as much as possible because you are 50% more likely to actually crit him. So again, a follow-up team or the impromptu teams, yeah, those really shine here, and also in this stage they are like the best teams you can possibly go for to abuse this critical defense minus 50% onto the plant afflatus boss in the middle right here. And it's gonna be about it again. Beast afflatus characters to be very efficient against the boss, plant afflatus characters to kill the ads faster, impromptu and follow-up teams to abuse their reduced critical defense rate. And yeah, that's gonna be about it. So follow-up teams, impromptu teams, or teams based around a main DPS from the beast afflatus, and that's gonna be about that. Don't forget about the poison. You see my 37 here has 9 stacks of poison already, so yeah, if you have Fatutu, she will take care of that, and it's gonna be very efficient. And yeah, that's gonna be about it. And in battle number 3, you will face these 3 guys here. Those 3, they will all be little, and every time you attack one of them, they get stacks of angry, so they become angry. And once they are too angry, they will evolve, as you just saw right here. So the best way to go about it is, first of all, you bring plant afflatus characters because your enemies are from the star afflatus characters, and with plant afflatus characters you would be very effective. And you want to refrain from attacking them all 3 at the same time all the time, because if they evolve, you want like 1 to evolve, just as you can see on your screen right here. You don't want to make it so that all 3 evolve at the same time. So 1 target attacks are better than mass attacks here in this stage. Once one of these enemies evolve, you want to attack him as much as possible, like attack, because every time you attack them, they lose these stacks of angry and they devolve. So once they evolve, they become stronger. See that you hit them as much as possible, attack them over and over again until they devolve again. And that's how you go about this battle. You bring plant afflatus characters. Preferably you refrain from using mass attacks and you only do 1 target attack, so that only 1 enemy evolves at a time and not all 3 at the same time. And that's gonna be it. If they evolve, focus the ones that are evolved to make them devolve again as fast as possible. And yeah, here you can see, let me showcase that one time. The thing that I mentioned earlier is that you can switch out between your 2 different teams. You see I switched out Mrs. Babel to bring in the young Yue, and she will immediately use her ultimate, and you can cycle this to use as many ultimates as possible per round. This is gonna be very efficient. But here you can see, since this was a mass attack, I attacked all 3 enemies at the same time. Now I have 2 enemies evolved. It's for me not too big of a big deal, but yeah, you wanna watch out for that and use 1 target attacks. And that's gonna be about that. Moving on to stage number 4, but before we hop in, I want to gift you this gift code right here. Those are a few free clear drops, and I want to say thank you very much for watching my videos. I really highly appreciate it. But now let's talk about the last battle, battle number 4 in the Imagination Palace. Here you have 3 enemies. All of those enemies are from the Plant Afflatus, so if you bring Beast Afflatus characters like Jay or Anionala, for example, you would be golden. Then those enemies, they have stacks on themselves called artillery support, and every single time you attack those enemies, you reduce these stacks of artillery support on them. That leads to them using their ultimates less frequently. So you want to make sure that you bring mass attacks and you attack all 3 of those at the same time, as many times as you possibly can. And that's pretty much all about there's to say. You need mass attacks, because this guy in the middle with the big shield, he will use taunt. If you use one target attacks, you will most of the times only be able to attack him. So you see my Lucy, this is what you want to do. You want to use mass attacks that hit all 3 of them, and you want to do this as many times as possible, so you prevent them from using their ultimates too much. And then, yeah, that's gonna be about it. Bring Beast Afflatus characters, bring mass attacks, and you will be totally fine. I hope that video was fun and informative, guys. Again, thank you very much for watching. If you like Reverse 1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate that. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.